So, I, 21-year-old female, have a lot of hobbies. I'm sort of what you might call a hobby collector, lol. But my top ones right now are running, training for a marathon, baking, reading, and doing something called junk journaling. Not sure if anyone is familiar. Specifically, reading I've been doing since I was a young teenager. This started about 6 months ago when I saw that several of my old books were dog-eared, which I don't do to my books. I asked my boyfriend if he had read them, which I would be totally fine with, but he insisted he hadn't touched them. Odd, but whatever. Then after that, I literally could never find my running shoes. I bought a rather expensive pair and keep them separate from my other shoes because I'm a nurse and my hospital shoes are nasty mayo. But the running shoes I could never find. They would always turn up days later though, somewhere I definitely hadn't put them. Again, odd, but whatever. And then my journal got completely destroyed. Somehow it was left outside in our garage where it is known to leak when it rains. It didn't necessarily get water damaged, but the moisture made all my pages peel up and practically 28 pages ruined. The pages take me over an hour each, and I'm quite proud of them. 28 plus hours of my artwork ruined. This is so stupid, but I genuinely started to believe the house was haunted. Lumeo. I did shed a few tears over my journal, and my boyfriend rolled his eyes at that, but helped me glue them all back down and salvage as much as possible. I had a fleeting thought that he put out there, but it was honestly so weird I was like, why would he? Then it was back to my books. I have a huge bookshelf with about 200 plus books because I read daily. I started to notice one by one, they were freaking disappearing. Like straight up gone. I searched every corner of the house and could not find them. I even texted all three of my sisters, my brother, and my boyfriend's sister, asking if they had borrowed any and didn't tell me. They all said they hadn't. My boyfriend's sister borrows my books often, but she always asks and insisted she didn't have any. When this happened, I was like, what the frick? And then it was my baking. I could never find my mixers or my baking sheets or anything whenever I wanted to bake. The final straw, though, was when I found my KitchenAid mixer broken. Literally just would not turn on. And if you don't know, those things are expensive. I straight up asked him, did you do this? Like, why is all my chute broken or lost recently? He finally admitted to purposely hiding or breaking my things because my hobbies annoy him. I'm not gonna lie, I exploded. I told him he was a weirdo for touching my stuff and that it was honestly so strange to do this as an adult. He proceeded to defend himself, saying that I was spending more time on my made-up hobbies than with him, and this was the only way to make me focus on our relationship again. Which, for context, isn't true at all. We still have a great relationship, I thought. We go on dates twice a week, we have intimacy regularly, we get along with each other's families and friends. Like, I'm so confused. We've been together for 2 whole years. I love him so much, and other than this odd behavior, he's so good to me. After that argument, I was genuinely so distraught that I left the house and went to my sister's house who lived together. They also agreed it was the oddest thing in the world. The icing on the freaking cake when I got home this morning was that he threw out all of my chute, cut the soles out of running shoes, cut the laces, threw out my Apple Watch, destroyed the baking things, cut the silicone molds, the box that all my missing books were in the freaking dumpster with all of my other journal supplies. The journal he helped me fix was torn to shreds. I genuinely started to sob. I know it sounds dumb and overdramatic, but I genuinely worked so hard on my journal that it made me cry. Literally hundreds of dollars and some of my favorite books in the trash. Money spent on baking supplies, which I used to bake for my baby cousin's elementary school. Ruined. I just don't understand what is wrong with him. He's never been like this before. Ever. I'm genuinely so freaking confused. What do I do? What has gotten into him? Is it something else he could be projecting? I'm genuinely so confused. Update, I'm not still there. I'm with my sisters, deciding what I need to do next. Thank you everyone for the comments and help. I really am grateful for it. Another update. A few people have messaged me to let me know that my post has been posted on TikTok on one of the Reddit story things. My boyfriend is active on TikTok, and if he sees it, this will be 1,000,000 times worse. I don't know what to do about that either. I'm just digging myself in deeper holes now. And also, I know everyone is very concerned about my pup, but they also say do not go alone. I don't know which is worse, leaving her there or going alone to get her tonight. I'm short, I am okay. This is honestly the weirdest thing I've ever experienced and have no idea what to do. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. The most dangerous time in a relationship with a mentally ill aggressor is when you leave. So make your plan carefully to be sure you've already taken what you need out of the home. Have a place to go that he won't think of, so no parents or best friends. Then if he does find you, call the police and consider getting a restraining order. When someone is openly unwell, you can't reason with them or hope for them to magically change. So save yourself. Comment 2. Charge him for it. Destroying your stand mixer and running shoes could add up to felony charges. All your books definitely cost a lot. Don't just break up with him and kick him out. Get him arrested for breaking your stuff. Get your money back. He wasn't mature enough to handle another adult. Show him the consequences of his toddler tantrum. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a crazy few days since my last post, and I've got some updates for you all. First off, I'm still at my sister's place, trying to figure out my next steps. I've been reading through all your comments and advice, and it's been a huge help, so thank you for that. So, about my pup. I couldn't stand the thought of leaving her with him after everything that's happened. My brother, who's been my rock since we were kids, came with me to get her. We went together, and it was tense, but thankfully, we got her out without any issues. She's safe with me now, and I'm never letting her out of my sight again. Now, on to the juicy stuff. My boyfriend, well, ex-boyfriend now, tried to reach out to me. He sent me a long text trying to explain his side of things. He said he felt neglected and that my hobbies were taking me away from him. He admitted that he was wrong to destroy my things and that he was willing to compromise to make things right. He suggested that we set aside specific times for my hobbies and our relationship so we could both be happy. He even offered to replace everything he destroyed, which is a lot, considering the amount of money and time I put into my collections and hobbies. But here's the thing. I realized something important about myself during these past few days. I remembered how, back in high school, I used to let people walk all over me. I'd bend over backward to make others happy, even if it meant giving up things I loved. It took me years to build up the confidence to pursue my passions without feeling guilty. So when my ex suggested this compromise, it hit me. I shouldn't have to schedule my life around someone else's insecurities. I shouldn't have to give up parts of myself to make a relationship work. That's not a compromise. That's surrendering who I am. I told him no. I said that I couldn't be with someone who would go to such extremes to get my attention. It was hard, especially after 2 years together, but I knew it was the right decision for me. But wait, there's more. Remember how I mentioned my boyfriend's sister borrows my books? Well, she came over to my sister's place yesterday. She was in tears, apologizing for not telling me sooner, but she confessed that my ex had asked her to lie about not having my books. He'd given them to her to hide from me. She brought them all back, every single one. I couldn't believe it. I was so relieved to have them back, but also shocked that he involved his sister in this mess. And then, the confrontation. My ex showed up at my sister's place uninvited. He was desperate, saying he couldn't live without me, that he'd change. But I stood my ground. My sisters were there backing me up, and my brother was on his way too. It was intense, and I was shaking, but I told him it was over for good. He left, but not before making a scene that had the whole neighborhood peeking through their curtains. Now I'm focusing on picking up the pieces. I've been reconnecting with my hobbies, starting with running. My brother gave me an old pair of his running shoes to use until I can get new ones. I've been baking again too, using some spare supplies my sisters had. It's been therapeutic in a way. I've also been thinking a lot about my relationship with my ex. I remember how, in the beginning, he was always so supportive of my hobbies. He'd even join me on runs sometimes, or taste test my baking experiments. It's hard to reconcile that version of him with the person who destroyed my things. But I've learned that people can change, and not always for the better. I've also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I've been through a lot these past few days, but I'm still here, still standing, and still moving forward. Husband laughs when I reject Rachel, but his ex's secret shocks us both. Our baby's name will be our fresh start. My husband Jack, fake name, and I have been together for 4 years and are expecting a little girl due in February. My husband already has 2 little boys from his previous marriage who are named after fictional characters that he and his previous wife were big fans of. For the sake of the post, I'll say they're called Chandler and Joey. When we found out we were expecting a girl, he suggested we pick a name that is also from the show and suggested Rachel. I vetoed it because I wasn't a fan of the name. It's not actually Rachel, so don't be offended. Rachel's of the subreddit. He told me he wasn't as big of a fan of the other names on the show, so I told him it didn't have to be from the show. But he believed that since the boys were both named after characters from the show, it would make sense to name our daughter after someone on the show too. I told him I didn't like Rachel, but if he thought of a different character whose name he liked, I would consider it. He said he probably wouldn't, but fine, and I thought that was that. Today I checked my Facebook while on break at work and saw my mother-in-law has posted, "Baby Rachel, due Feb 2024, and I hit the roof. I considered leaving work because I was so angry, but I managed to finish my shift without ending the life of any customers. When I got home, Jack was already there, so I asked him why his mom thinks the baby is going to be called Rachel, and he told me that his mom asked, and it was the name he wanted. He said he thought I would learn to love it, and if he told his mom, there wouldn't be any way to change it now. I have a tendency to avoid correcting people when they're wrong, so he knew I would absolutely hate telling his mom that Rachel wasn't the name. He also said that the baby might feel left out if she's not named after a character from the show. I think after this, I hate the name Rachel even more. I don't know why he can't understand that I don't like the name and I don't want to pick it. I looked at the characters from the show as well after our initial conversation, and there were some names I actually liked. So Reddit, how do I get my husband to agree to a different name? How do I get him to stop telling people our baby's name is going to be something it's not? How do I tell my husband's family, plus everyone that saw my mother-in-law's Facebook post, that the name he told them is not the name? Edit. Referred to my husband as my boyfriend by accident. Think I'm already getting mom brain, lol. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Comment on her post. Sorry, mother-in-law, he was joking. We haven't actually picked a name yet, and this one isn't even on the short list. Treat it like a joke. Every single time. Tell people you don't like that name for your child, and you're still deciding. Heck, if telling people in person is too uncomfortable for you, post it on Facebook, text, email it. And tell your husband that his underhanded manipulative tactics need to stop now, and if he doesn't tell everyone that it's not actually the name, then you will. Comment 2. You stand your ground, obviously. He disrespected your opinion that you stated directly to his face about the name. And he is playing weird games to guilt you into accepting the name you don't want. He already has 2 children, and both are named after characters in a show. It means he was the one who decided the names for 2 out of 3 of the children. Sounds like it's your turn. Pick a name you like and don't budge. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my last post. I really appreciated the advice and support. So, it's been 2 weeks since I found out my mother-in-law announced our baby's name as Rachel on Facebook, and boy, do I have an update for you. First off, let me give you a bit of history about Jack and his ex-wife. They were huge fans of this particular show, and it was a big part of their relationship. Naming their kids after characters from the show was something they bonded over. I guess Jack wanted to carry that tradition into our family, but I never felt the same attachment to the show. After the Facebook fiasco, I had a long talk with Jack. I explained how important it was for me to have a say in our daughter's name, and that I felt disrespected by him going behind my back. He apologized and admitted he got carried away with the idea of keeping the tradition alive. We agreed to start the naming process from scratch, and this time, we would both have to agree on the name. We spent the next few days going over names. I even suggested a few from the show that I didn't mind, but Jack seemed to have lost interest in the idea altogether. It was weird, but I was just relieved we were making progress. Then, out of the blue, Jack's ex-wife, let's call her Janice, reached out to me. She had seen the Facebook post and wanted to apologize for any drama it caused. She explained that naming their boys after the show was her idea and that Jack had just gone along with it because it made her happy. She said Jack might be trying to recreate their past happiness with me and our daughter, which was a bit of a shock. I was processing this new information when things took an even more dramatic turn. Jack's mom called me, furious, because she heard from Janice that we were changing the baby's name. She accused me of trying to erase their family tradition and disrespecting the memory of Jack's first marriage. I tried to calm her down and explain that Jack and I were making this decision together, but she wouldn't listen. She even threatened not to come to the baby shower, which honestly didn't bother me at that point. The next day, Jack came home from work with a surprise. He had talked to his mom and smoothed things over. He told her that we were still deciding on the name and that it was important for us to choose one that we both loved. He also made it clear that our daughter's name wouldn't be Rachel. But here's where the misunderstanding comes in. Jack's mom had misunderstood him and thought we had already chosen a new name. She went back on Facebook and announced that our baby would be named Phoebe. Again, not the real name, but you get the idea. I was stunned. We hadn't even discussed that name. I confronted Jack about it, and he was just as surprised as I was. He had no idea how his mom got Phoebe from their conversation. We both agreed that we needed to set the record straight, but now we had to deal with the fallout of yet another name announcement. So, we made a plan. We would host a small get-together with close family and friends to reveal the baby's real name. We wanted to control the narrative this time and make sure there were no more mix-ups. The day of the reveal, tensions were high. Jack's mom was there, eyeing me suspiciously, and Janice even showed up to show her support. We gathered everyone around and unveiled a banner with our daughter's name on it. We had finally settled on a name that wasn't from the show, but had a similar feel to it, which we both loved. Everyone seemed pleased with the name, and Jack's mom even came up to me afterward to apologize for the confusion. She admitted that she might have been holding on to the past too tightly and that it was time to embrace the future. As for Jack and me, we're just relieved that the name drama is over. We're looking forward to welcoming our little girl into the world with a name that is uniquely hers. And as for the Facebook announcements, we've asked Jack's mom to refrain from posting anything about the baby until we give her the green light. He lied about cheating, so I tested positive. We're in therapy with a baby coming, and his lies just keep unraveling. So this is definitely a weird one, and my boyfriend's behavior has been so weird from when he initially told me he went and got tested. 6 days ago, my boyfriend told me he tested positive for chlamydia. I was so outraged, so many things going on in my mind. I didn't sleep with anyone throughout these 2 years we have been together. I, of course, thought he cheated on me. I asked him, he swore on his own life he didn't. We talked on the phone, and he was actually really convincing. I thought initially maybe he got it before we started seeing each other and just never got tested. So I asked him about that. He said he actually did get tested once, 1 year ago, and was negative. Then I was outraged some more. He said he went and got tested because he was having painful urination. We kept going back and forth. Later, I guess he got his actual results. He showed me a screenshot, and what did the results say? That he was negative for chlamydia gonorrhea. I asked him why he told me initially he had it. He told me when he was talking to the nurse, they told him it could be this. But my first question was, why the F did you tell me you tested positive when you didn't have your results? This, to me, was super weird. But I had calmed down because seeing that result put my mind at ease that he didn't cheat. However, one weird thing was that he kept insisting I go get tested. He must have mentioned it 4 times that same day and kept telling me, send me your results when you get it. If he didn't cheat and I didn't cheat and he already had a negative result, why was he so insistent I get tested? I got tested the same exact day we were talking about all this. I got my results a few days later and I was positive for chlamydia. What the F? Same thoughts came back. He was definitely cheating on me. I showed him my results, and his behavior was super weird. I mean, he did ask me if I had slept with someone else and that he wouldn't be mad if I did. What the F? I mean, if I knew my boyfriend cheated on me, I would be livid. He seemed completely fine. He said, "Just go get treated, babe." Now I know it's possible I could have given it to him from my previous relationship that I was in. But no, I had actually gotten tested in 2018 after my ex and I broke up, and 4 other times during the course of our relationship. I was negative each time. I only got tested during our relationship because I was having weird symptoms like discharge, burning urination for months, and my gyne would always automatically test me for STIs. One time I was tested during my PAP. My boyfriend tried to convince me the times I was negative could have been a false negative. There is absolutely no way all these times I got tested were false. He also tried to convince me I probably had this for a long time since my ex had cheated on me with multiple women. Honestly, my theory is that he cheated on me, started having symptoms, went and got tested, treated, got tested again to show he was negative, and then tell me about it so he could put the blame on me. I know that I very well could have a false positive, but how common is this really? I'll go get tested again just to make sure, but this is definitely not the behavior I would expect from my boyfriend. Edited to add, I went and got tested at a different clinic just to rule out the possibility that the first test was a false positive. Well, this second test, I did test positive for chlamydia. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, but now I can confidently say he did cheat on me. Sigh. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Your gut is telling you the truth. When did your symptoms start compared to his? Also, what kind of test did he get? Penile or oral swab? Also, you need at least 7 days between tests to test negative, so if it was 6 days ago, that's not enough time. Something is fishy, and it sounds like your boyfriend. Comment 2. There are literally hundreds of STDs with that exact symptom. For him to have that symptom, pick the exact STD by name, and then have you test positive is obvious he was positive before. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I've got to say, things have taken some unexpected turns. After my second positive test for chlamydia, I was devastated. I couldn't shake the feeling that my boyfriend had cheated on me. Despite his insistence that he hadn't, the evidence was stacking up against him. I confronted him again, and this time he broke down. He admitted that he had a one-night stand a few months back. He was drunk, it was a mistake, and he regretted it immediately. I was heartbroken, but a part of me appreciated his honesty, finally. But here's where things get even more complicated. Remember how he kept insisting I get tested and send him my results? Well, it turns out he had a reason for that. His ex-girlfriend, who he dated before me, reached out to him around the same time he started having symptoms. She confessed that she had been diagnosed with chlamydia and was reaching out to past partners. My boyfriend panicked, got tested, and then the whole confusing situation with the nurse happened. He was so scared of losing me that he concocted this whole plan to get me tested, hoping that if I tested positive, he could blame it on my past and not his infidelity. It was a twisted and desperate attempt to save our relationship, and it backfired spectacularly. As for me, I was furious, not just because he cheated, but because he tried to manipulate the situation. We had a huge fight, and I told him I needed space to think. During that time, I started reflecting on our entire relationship. I remembered how he had always been a little insecure, always worried I would leave him for someone else. It was a trait that I had overlooked because I loved him, but now it was glaringly obvious. In the midst of all this, I had to deal with the treatment for chlamydia. It was a simple antibiotic course, but it felt like a heavy burden. I was angry at myself for trusting him, angry at him for betraying me, and just plain angry at the situation. After a week of silence, my boyfriend showed up at my door with flowers and a heartfelt apology. He had written me a letter, explaining everything, taking full responsibility for his actions, and begging for my forgiveness. He promised to do whatever it took to earn back my trust. I read the letter, and I could see the remorse in his eyes. He had made a terrible mistake, but I could tell he genuinely loved me. I was torn. Part of me wanted to forgive him, to try and rebuild what we had, but another part of me was scared of getting hurt again. We decided to give it another shot, but things were different. The trust that once came so easily was now fractured. We started going to couples therapy, which was helping, but it was a slow and painful process. Then, just when I thought we might be able to get past this, another news dropped. I found out I was pregnant. The timing meant that the baby was conceived right before the whole chlamydia debacle. I was shocked, scared, and unsure of what to do next. My boyfriend was over the moon. He saw the baby as a sign that we were meant to be together, a chance to start fresh, but I couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. Could I really raise a child with a man who had betrayed me? Could our relationship survive the stress of parenthood on top of everything else? If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.